Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another video. Today, I want to take you through the nodes through the houses. If you caught my last video, I did a brief explanation about what it may mean to have the moon's nodes shift from Aries and Libra, and they are now positioned in Virgo and Pisces, Pisces being the North Node. Today, I want to take that symbolism through the houses so you can get a feel for what areas of life are going to be churned, changed, and sped up over the next 18 months. One of the key differences I find with nodal work is that the signs tend to show us the psychological influence that the signs will have. So, say, for example, Aries and Libra, the key themes were relationships, the we versus me dynamic. Whereas as we move into Virgo and Pisces being the north and Virgo being the south, it's going to have a lot to do with faith, belief, trust versus skepticism, science, data. As an example, since I did my last video, our good old mate Zucks has decided that on his meta platforms that he is no longer going to be having those fact-checking situations. He's going to move into the community notes system like what X does. Now, think what you like about that, but it's certainly a interesting dynamic how the South Node was just about to move into Virgo and something that's been quite problematic in terms of sort of open source data. Um, it's been fact checked, it's been ridiculed, discerned by the powers that be, and now he's doing away with that. We'll see what happens, but I thought it was an interesting prelude to what we can expect. So, moving into the community notes model is almost more about the sort of the collective facts as opposed to, or the many facts being ruled by Jupiter, as opposed to the one, which is a bit more mercurial. So, obviously, that's going to translate differently for us personally, which I want to focus on because there's going to be an areas of life that we're going to um, feel that nodal pull. We're going to feel those karmic connections, the ties, the areas of life where that the gentle hand of God is pushing you, go in this direction, go in this direction. When it comes to working with the nodes, I often talk about it with this idea of the North Node can tend to describe um, the yellow brick road opening up for you. And you've just got to click your heels 3 times like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz and get that road open up for you. So the key difference is obviously the signs will show you, the North Node in Pisces is going to show you where you're going to need to have more faith, trust, maybe gloss over some details, move forward towards something, even if you don't fully understand it. The South Node in Virgo is going to be sort of let go of trying to make everything perfect. Try and let go of the concept of timing. Try and let go of precision and discernment. Obviously, I wouldn't say lose discernment altogether. That wouldn't be wise, but let go of having to, paralysis analysis every dynamic of your life, at least where the Virgo part is. So, where the nodes go are going to show us where that action happens. And so, the placement, the house axis of the nodes shows us where, the signs show us how. If you want a little bit more understanding about the how, check out my previous video. So, before I get into the house stuff, what I want to share with you is I've just released within my Golden Circle membership community. Part of my contemporary astrology program. So instead of having not getting my words out very well today, Neptune's back on my Mercury, but basically what I'm releasing is a masterclass series of nodes and eclipses. There's 3 classes, a webinar, so there's over 6 hours of material that has been previously only available to my contemporary astrology program students. If you're wanting to sort of piecemeal a little bit of your astrological study and the nodes are curious to you, you want to understand them more, you also want to understand eclipses more, then you will be most interested in this. I'm also doing some research on some other spiritual traditions that don't get mentioned enough in astrology in relationship to the nodes. And so I will be adding that research at some point once I'm satisfied with it, into this program. So it'll be a different way to look at the nodes from a more spiritual standpoint. Okay, let's do this. So let's take it through the houses. So some of this information is going to apply from both a transiting perspective as well as the natal. There can be some differences between the transits and the natal when we're working with nodes, but first and foremost, you could kind of take the same situation to the bank. The key difference is that the difference between the natal is it's a sort of a lifetime karmic trajectory versus the transiting nodes. It shows us the areas that we are karmically churning through, working with for a period of 18 months to 2 years. Because remember, wherever the nodes go, eclipses follow. The nodes are strictly an 18-month cycle. However, the eclipses can sort of follow through over a 2-year cycle. So actually, I'll stop that share. Before we go into the house topics, let's go through the last time the nodes were in these sign combinations so you can cast your mind back to that period of time, think about the houses and go, oh yeah, that's what happened to me XYZ time. So this journey, North Node in Pisces, South in Virgo, from January 11 this year through to July 28 of 2026. The time before, the same house axis was activated, but the nodes were reversed. So we had the North Node in Virgo last time, South in Pisces. Those dates were from November 13, 2015 through to May 10 of 2017. The same cycle that we have now just entered into with the North Node in Pisces, South in Virgo, was from June 23, 2006 to December 19, 2007. So obviously the sky was a very different tapestry back during the last cycles, but at least in terms of the houses, the areas of life are getting sped up, churned and changed, there will be some repetitive patterns. So that's something to consider and think about as well. So let's do this. We're going to be firstly looking at Aries and Libra risings. So it's important to think that even though you might be focused on the North Node, for example, which many people do, the nodes are the only bodies, planets, things that we work in astrology that are always constantly in opposition to each other. So essentially, we are working with two sides of the same coin. Therefore, we got to consider the house axis. So whatever happens in the 6th is going to have a ricochet effect in the 12th, vice versa, regardless of the house axis that we are working with. So when we are looking at this house axis, it's a cadent house axis, so it has it's a bit of a lower vibe, and it speaks to problems because these are the houses where Mars and Saturn find their joy. So it is going to talk about battles, obstacles, troubleshooting. For the most part, it's the 6th house is the problems that we can see. You get a skin rash, you break your toe, a light bulb needs replacing in the home, whatever the case may be, you can see it, problem, solution, fixed. 12th house, however, is a little bit more about the problems we can't see. And those are usually our mental problems, emotional problems, or any type of stress or anguish of the mind. I find the 12th house can also be a place of deep discontentment. So when it receives some nodal action, all that gets churned up. So when we're looking at these two houses, what we need to do is sort of identify, or either identify and or prevent these sorts of problems. So when the South Node is in the 6th house, you might start to notice that there are, you're dealing with, okay, if it's a body issue, whether it's um, a health issue you can see, or maybe it's a health issue within the body, you might start to notice that there are some problems with the body that are related to an emotional situation. So, how the idea of the body keeps score, or every situation that we come across in life, if we don't heal and process it, it gets stored in the body. So, this is what you can come across when the nodes move into this part of the life, at least from the health and the body side of things. You might be looking for every pill and potion to try and fit, or try every new diet under the sun, when really you've got to deal with some of that limiting belief stuff, or the subconscious patterns of the mind that will lead to why XYZ is or isn't happening. So it is a complicated, and this is going to be the same for Libra risings as well. So it's going to be a complicated dynamic taking place here between the physical problems and the problems we can't see. When the South Node is in the 12th, so this will be more applicable to the Libra risings, it's going to be, I find when the South Node moves through the 12th, it can really turn your intuitive or psychic dial right up. You might come across some weird spiritual karma, but it's also a really great time to disentangle any long-term patterns, programming, um, and deal with any kind of unconscious issues that you might be working through. So you might be able to hear my son there. He's very excited about the latest fortnight update. So he's on the tablet with his friends there. So my apologies for that if it's coming through in the background. So that's going to be the storyline for the Aries Libra dynamic. All that being said, you've just had the nodes in your first 7th house combination. So in reality, unless you're Pisces or Virgo loaded, this nodal journey should be fairly almost relieving because it's no longer in an angular position. Now, for those with Taurus or Scorpio rising, you are working with the 5th and the 11th house axis. So these are our succedent houses. So there is some reasonable power, some reasonable action here, a little bit more than the cadent houses. And so when the nodes come and activate this part of the sky, it's asking you to focus on friends, on creations, and who's seeing your joy, or who is seeing your creation, or who is sharing that sort of stuff. If the South Node is moving through the 5th house, this can be a real reckoning or a disentangling of what you actually enjoy doing. So this could be things to do with sex, for instance, romance, dating, mating, relating, all of those sorts of things. It might be a bit of a dry spell for you in that area. You might also be pouring a lot of your personal energy into a particular project. So you might, be creating something, anything, writing a book, creating music, creating art, creating whatever it is that you wish to be seen in the world. So, but the flip side to that, you want to develop a relationship with an audience or with someone who can see your material, especially if it is something that is going to generate income, for instance. So if you're a budding astrologer and you're trying to create content, it doesn't have to be perfect. Get it out there. Okay. So this is for Taurus, Scorpio, axis, but most importantly, the Taurus one. Now, if this energy is reversed, and so for the Scorpio risings, this is going to be the South Node in the 11th. So it is a bit of just not caring what society, what people, your friendship groups, your community groups care about what you're doing with your life. It's kind of the classic you do, you boo cycle there. I have that natally, and it's kind of how I roll. So if you have that in your transiting, so Scorpio rising, you're going to be experiencing that. It's really just about you doing you, what you feel good doing, who you feel good being, and not caring about what others may say or think about that. Now, if you are Gemini or Sagittarius rising, you're going to have these nodes travel through the 10th and the 4th. So again, now we're back to the angular houses. So this is definitely going to be a more dynamic transit for the Gemini or the Sag rising people. Now, the North Node in the 10th house, and obviously there's a lot of Pisces energy there. It's going to be speaking to visibility, being seen, believing in what it is that your career is, if you're Gemini rising, pushing forward, accepting opportunities, really opening up, and maybe not kind of caring so much or not being overly focused on, do you know all you need to know? It reminds me of the mighty Lars Ulrich from Metallica. If you've ever seen there's some kind of monster documentary, he's like, when is the song even done? And that's a bit like that. When is anything really done? When do you ever really know enough? Chances are you know enough to kind of put that knowledge out there, or you're skilled or qualified enough to do that. So it is about striving for a career change, a life direction change. And that will often mean moving away from a position or a place of comfort. Now, if you're Sag rising and the reverse is true, then, this is also going to be about maybe a little bit less about ambition, career path, life path, and maybe more about home and hearth, personal life, family life, domestic life, or even real estate and things of that nature. So really kind of focusing on family, focusing on what is important to you, and maybe slowing down somewhat and starting to grow roots if you're Sagittarius rising. Now, if you're Cancer or Capricorn rising, these nodes are going to go through the 3rd and the 9th, which is one of my personal favorite house axes, to be honest. And I do love seeing a little bit of nodal action for people through here, especially if they have it natally. Now, for me, I see the 3rd and the 9th as houses of meaning and purpose. I did a what do you call it? The Nightlight speaker series video ages ago now with Adam on these houses, and it's also on my YouTube channel. So I'll put that up there for free if you're keen to check it out. If you are Cancer or Capricorn rising, you want to have a deeper understanding of how you can manifest this transit in a way that you like, or you have nodes in these houses natally. So, okay, there is always going to be here, I think, a struggle with what is sensible, practical versus your big dream aspirations. The North Node in the 9th, especially in Pisces, it's kind of this world is my oyster type of dynamic. It is reaching for aspirations, reaching for a dream, reaching for a goal, whether that's travel, spirituality, study, or just finding what your meaningful desires are. What is your life purpose? And oftentimes in life, we spend a lot of time trying to reach for the big wins, when many of the big wins are a compounded effect of the small day-to-day actions, and hence that 3rd house gets activated there, right? So that 3rd house dynamic is going to help you, let go of the the big vision enough to do the small things, to do the daily rituals, to not, it's one good thing to have a lofty goal or vision, but, when you open your calendar, for instance, are you doing the things that, are going to support that? So, look at the day to day. Are you wanting to finish a PhD, but you're spending half your time on Netflix? Well, that's not going to support that goal, for example. Now, if you're a Capricorn rising, this is going to be putting the North Node in the third. So that's going to really ask you to double down on the practicalities and perhaps not get lost in a religious, spiritual, or travel situation. It might be about developing more appreciation for the little things in life and recognizing that activity and achievement are not always the same thing. So, yeah, it is, it's going to help you if you're Capricorn rising to bring some abstract ideas down to earth, which as a Capricorn rising should be fairly okay for you to do. Now, if you're Leo rising or even Aquarius, it's the money houses that are going to be activated for you. So again, we're coming back to the succedent house placements. And so these ones do relate to resources, your stuff, my stuff, our stuff. So these are going to really also be not just the financial or the things. The second and the eighth often speak to the idea of our entanglements that we share with other people. And this is going to be even more felt because it's the nodes, and the nodes are kind of a tangly energy anyway. So if you're Leo rising, this is going to see the South Node in the second. Now, this can seem a bit like a buzzkill to abundance or a buzzkill to cash flow, and it can be. But ideally, you might prefer to get really particular about how you earn, spend, and save, get maybe more discerning about money, paying attention. You can't measure what you don't, can't manage what you don't measure, kind of thing. I also find that there can be a little bit of a hoarding energy, particularly at least with the natal placements. But money stuff is always going to be tricky where the nodes come through. Even if money is a little bit thin on the ground, feels a little bit hard to come by, it could also be because you've got maybe expanded debt, or you are working to pay off debt, or you are attempting to save up for a special purchase or what have you. So that's one of the ways that that can work out. My God, Link, I am trying to record a video and all I can hear is you yelling. This combination could also show, pooling your personal resources into the eighth house and in other people's resources. Now, if the reverse is true and you've got Aquarius rising, I often do find that this can, I'm not putting it out there for people, but I have seen it show up many times as a divorce signature or a separation signature. Could be a separation of marriage, of partnership, or even of business. And this is because the South Node will be in the eighth, kind of disentangling or reducing what joint finances mean. And then, of course, that boost of the North Node in the second can be that, division of joint assets and then that cash flow boost. For Aquarius risings, even if it's not a divorce type of situation, I often find nodal energy in the second, eighth house, whether you're Leo or Aquarius rising, is most certainly going to bring up a new financial cycle, particularly if the North Node is in the second house for the Aquarius risings. Maybe new goals, more hunger or ambition to earn, more opportunity to earn as well. So it's usually pretty exciting what the nodes can do in this part of the sky. Of course, it's going to depend on chart factors and, life circumstances as well. Now, if you are a Virgo rising, Pisces rising, this is going to be the most personally felt transit as far as the nodes are concerned. Relationships, of course, are going to come up. That's always a given when they are in the first and second houses, first and seventh houses, regardless of whether you are looking at a natal placement or you are looking at the transiting placement. So for Virgo rising, having the South Node in the first, you're going to have a lower energy vibe. South Node in the first house and over lights, sun and moon, can tend to be an energy buzzkill. So do be aware of that. It could be that you are having to disentangle, remove yourself from some habitual patterns and habits, and upgrade some of your attitudes and ways of thinking. So it's a big purging and purifying phase, as you may need to put some more of your energy into the seventh. An example of this might be, dating sucks and everything's ruined, and what's the point? That would be the South Node in the first, but get over some of that stuff and then go into the seventh with a sense of trust or openness and change some of those maybe limited beliefs and see what can happen for you. If you're in an existing relationship, this can also help you break some of your own habits and then use that to sort of invest in your partner. So of course, it is a back and forth here. So it's not as though it's all just one way. Finding that balance of being independent yet dependent. How do you be yourself versus going with the flow with somebody else? There can be an overdoing it wherever the North Node goes. So there might be, something to think about there as well. Now, if you're a Pisces rising, this is going to be a healthy, selfish phase. The North Node really, the transiting North Node in the first house is a little bit about that all about me phase that can help you develop yourself, which might mean the relationship needs to take a somewhat back step. You might seek to understand partnership more through seeking to understand yourself, understanding you more. But it's definitely wherever you are, whether you are a Pisces or Virgo rising, it still can be a relationship testing period of time. As you start to work through the dynamics that you either share alone that's preventing relationship, or if you are in relationship and sort of figuring out this pathway forward. I often see people get into relationships and get out of relationships during this transit. So that's just a little bit of a thumbnail sketch for you all to take you through the nodes. Do think back at these previous cycles and how they played out for you. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Which houses are they playing out for you? Can you start to see or at least feel or get a sense of what's going to show up for you? If you're keen on the Nodes and Eclipses Masterclass, there will be a link down below where you can sign up for that. It's all run through the app, so you have lifetime access to that material. And I sort of share all I know about nodes and eclipses through 20 years of practice there. And there's going to be more to come as well. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video and I look forward to seeing you in another one real soon.